My name is Dominic Chu, and I'm a markets reporter for CNBC.
My name is Angela Moon. I'm currently a team leader / chief correspondent for Thomson Reuters.
I'm definitely American-born Chinese.
My father was a diplomat, so I grew up all over the world.
From a standpoint of my own personal background, I was raised by immigrant parents who were both born in China.
My father is Hakka, Kejaran, and my mother is from Guangzhou.
Definitely, there were times where I felt like definitely a minority.
When I was growing up, there weren't often times where I felt that different. I think where I grew up in California, there was a fairly diverse.
Times have changed now, but when I was growing up, there were certain circumstances where my sister and I were the only Asian kids in school.
I was born and raised in New York City on the Lower East Side there were many Jewish people at the time.
Growing up in that area, I never felt that different. Of course, I knew I was different. My hair looked different. My parents spoke with a bit more of an accent than other parents did.
That has always been a challenge. You know, we'll go to casting calls and they say, well, can you do an Asian accent?
Everyone thought we were Chinese when we were actually Korean. Like, they didn't know the difference between Chinese, Korean, Japanese.
It was just really hard to even be seen.
And, people always ask me, with a name like Dominic, how can you be Asian? I was like, well, Dominic Chu, it's a pretty Catholic name.
There was a point in my life where I wanted to assimilate so badly that I didn't want to be Chinese. I rejected it. I didn't even want to use chopsticks.
It was kind of difficult at times because I had to, learn 2 different languages, and I had to go to Saturday school and Sunday school.
It takes time to kind of work through the cultural aspects of being where you are. And as a Chinese American, I really felt as though I grew up in a household where there was a very interesting mix, both of history, tradition, reverence for our ancestors, and of course looking forward to the future, and how those of us who have families further on down the line can kind of instill those ideas on our future generations. That's a big part of the story for me as a Chinese American.
I want my daughter to grow up as a very independent, strong individual, but I want her to also appreciate her background and her values as Asian American, as Korean American.
I want her to come naturally to know herself, and if she wants to learn Chinese, she goes, Mom, I really want to learn Chinese. I really want to learn that language, and she's going to know why.
I grew up in a family where Korean values, Asian values, speaking Korean was very important, especially to my parents. I think it's really, really valuable that I grew up with those skills that I could utilize in my career.
When it comes to an advantage, I think it speaks to a little bit about the broader appeal in Asian markets. If we can speak to people in Asia who typically haven't paid attention to certain things that were happening in other parts of the world before, I think that's a huge advantage. And I think that that's one of the reasons why, as an Asian American journalist, I take a lot of pride in what I do, because in this ever smaller world, I feel as though I'm one more voice in that whole collective conversation around the world.
I think in order to better represent our society, we need to have more people going into politics, going into Congress, and really speaking the voice of Asian Americans.
We need to do so many things, get Asian producers and Asian directors and Asian cameramen and costume people, and I think it's got to be an evolution, and it needs to be nurtured. It needs to just happen.
If I could change one thing in the whole world, it would be to get people to be more open to listening to diverging viewpoints. I really feel like if we would all take some time and understand that we don't have to agree with everybody, but treat everybody with respect and civility, that we could really have a much better world, a much better relationship with everybody out there.
The Asian month is just shining a light on us and our culture.
Among the 3 themes, I think embracing differences might be the one that I relate to most.
And then we have to share our stories. We have to share our stories so we can understand each other better.
And I have a lot of respect for my family, how hard they worked, how hard my family, you know, my parents and their grandparents and their parents and everybody else around us worked to kind of get to where we are now.
I'm very proud to be Asian. I wouldn't have it any other way. I've never felt like I need to change who I was.
I guess in many ways, being an Asian, I was always proud to have been one, and I never felt as though I was ashamed of my background.
Oh, absolutely. I'm proud to be Asian every day.